This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series. So we've got a great episode for you once again. And it's an episode about a topic which really became prominent in the research we did with men last year when we were speaking to different men internationally and asking them, what are the issues that are really troubling you in your dating life? Like, what's really getting in the way of you meeting the women that you really want to and having the love life that you'd really love to? And one of the big things that came up was men feeling that they're really struggling to meet the right type of woman.
Yeah, this was a really big concern because then psychologically it became a challenge for these guys to figure out like who was the right type of woman. So yeah, we invited Mike Campbell onto the podcast to talk about this and to give us his experience as to why men may feel they struggle to meet the right type of woman. And what was interesting is Mike's take on things was more about how a man can better develop himself, and we're going to go deeper into that in this episode, and to look at like why do men struggle to find the right woman, and like how how they can they can develop themselves further to actually attract the right type of woman into their life.
Exactly. And that's ultimately, one of the most important things. There's some tactical things in there that you can learn, but actually a lot of it really, if you've listened to our podcast enough, you realize we're all about self and self-responsibility and what you can do, in your dating life in general. There were some sound issues with the episode. This is a real shame, but persevere. Like, it's really worthwhile listening to. The sound is there. You can hear it just drops down low a couple of times. You know how it is with with the internet these days. It just doesn't work because too many people are using it.
Yeah, and before we jump into the episode, just want to remind you to have a look at our website and check out the blog and the newsletter that we're now putting out. In fact, the best thing you can do is actually sign up to the newsletter. That way you don't miss out on the blogs, because we always send out an email to update you about the blogs. Check it out. We've been dropping some really cool stuff. I've got a new article, the thing about shame. It seems I'm on a theme about talking about emotions for men. That's what seems to be coming up for me at the moment. And Dave, you've hit some really cool stuff about confidence during lockdown. And
I put an episode. I put out a blog post a little while ago about confidence, like how to build that in lockdowns. I think, in this moment of this semi-lockdown world where we're kind of half going out, half not really, there's actually an opportunity to really build your confidence up to a point where when we do get out fully out into the world, that you're feeling strong in who you are and in your ability to speak to women and interact with them.
Yeah, and he did say back into the wild, not the world. So yeah, when you're back into the wild out there. Yeah. So without further ado,
we'll jump into the episode. So, guys and girls, we've got a very, very special guest with us today. We've got Mr. Mike Campbell coming straight from Australia, sunny down under. I'm hoping his weather is almost as good as ours. But he is an incredible guy. He does a lot of men's coaching and men's work. We came across him through Instagram, which is the most wonderful place in the world, obviously. And yeah, we invited him on the show because we thought he'd have a great perspective. Mike, would you introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, fellas. It's great to be here. Where do I go? Yeah, so I am out in Australia, although I am a Kiwi. For those who have, there's plenty of us floating around the UK. So some people tend to have, the nuance in our differences. But yeah, look, I've lived out here for many years, and straight from a stint actually living over in the UK many years ago now. And yeah, I work as a men's coach, and essentially everything that I do is really about helping everyday men build legendary relationships with themselves, with their partners, and with their world. And very much, I like to think I'm kind of the honest guy every dude needs in his corner. I like to be honest, but always kind of loving straight talk behind that honesty, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that tag. How did you say it? The legendary
relationships. Yeah, with themselves, with their partners, and with their world.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, could you just share a little bit how you got into that? I think it's such a beautiful message, but what took you into that?
Yeah, well, what took me into it? I suppose it's, shit, a long story, but I'll do my best. And the reason I say that is because it's a journey, of me as a person and my own life. I was one of those kids growing up who was, I was outgoing and I was incredibly sporty. I was the dude who could kind of do anything that I put my hand to, and I was very good at all the sports I did. And so, I was kind of popular in that sense, but I was also very kind of shy and withdrawn
Mm.
kind of in myself quite a lot. And so I kind of grew up quite an intelligent, curious kid as well. Um, and so I kind of was, floating around, I suppose, the popular group and, you know, very outgoing externally with my body, physically, but not really in any other way. And so I just kind of floated on through, went to university. That was always going to happen, but I had no idea what I wanted to do, because for me, kind of sport was the thing. I play rugby. And so I just kind of had this like idea in my head that I hadn't really committed to, I think, that I wanted to be an All Black and I'd be a professional rugby player. And I just kind of, rolled through university with that in my mind. But then, of course, at 18, I left home, went to a new town, went to university, and I had all this freedom. And I had all these new mates, and we were all getting pissed, and it was super exciting. And I found this other version of like exploring the world and myself a little bit. And really, what that meant was I just got distracted by getting shit faced and chasing chicks. And but I soon learned, I also have this university thing. What am I going to do? Because I didn't really have, too much of an idea. I was just going to kind of play sport. But what that led me into was a physical education paper, and I found like, man, the human body is pretty interesting, isn't it? And I became really fascinated with the human body, and so I did this physical education degree. And funnily enough, I went through that and all the stories and all that kind of stuff. And then towards the end of my degree, where I had to kind of like fill up a few papers, I found a few other things like history and then more specifically anthropology. And I just was really interested in these things. But at the time, there was no conscious thought to anything beyond this is interesting, right? And then I got my degree and I went out and I decided to start becoming a personal trainer. So this is back in 2004. This is kind of when, certainly in New Zealand, you did a degree to become a personal trainer. There wasn't any kind of like 8-week courses and stuff like that. And so kind of half of the people in my class went and did that. And I was like, I've got this expertise, I'll go and do it. And even though I found the body interesting and I was into, movement and so on myself, it was when I started working with people that I was like, I'm working with humans. This is very different. And but it also made sense because I realized I'd become so like fascinated by anthropology and human behavior. Again, I hadn't really connected these dots yet, but I soon realized that I'm working with human behavior. This is what I do. And so while someone comes to me for something physical, I have to figure out how I get them to do this thing, because it's not as easy as here's the exercise, do these things, well, they don't do them. So for about 10 years, I was a trainer, and most of that time was just generally kind of figuring out how do I solve the problem that's in front of me. And what I came to realize over the years was that most of the people I was working with are men, similar to me in many ways. And, there was this physical want, but I worked out, well, look, that's not the thing. It's the thing that's presenting for them at their level of awareness or where they're willing to admit. But there's always something much deeper to that. And so for me, I'm very curious and I had to dig and dig and dig. And so I knew the digging was always something much deeper and it was much more emotional based. And it was often around how they feel about themselves and their worthiness and all this stuff. Once I'd first kind of explored that, after that point, I couldn't not explore it. I'd opened the jar. I couldn't put the lid back on. And so whilst I started to, again, somewhat unconsciously explore the real need for the person that was in front of me, it was after a while I'd been living over abroad and I moved back to Australia and I had some pretty hectic stuff going on in my own personal life and I was really exploring myself and who I was and what I was about and learning a lot about myself. I started to question, like, what am I actually doing and what do I really like and what do I really give a shit about? And this is when I really realized, what I do is I help men. That's a simple point. And the physical is like a big vehicle for it, but fundamentally there's this other thing that I'm working on. So I started to think, I can't keep just servicing me in this one thing when I know it's always about something else. So I had to really explore that. And that was when I kind of really started to look at, okay, what is it I do? What is the skill set that I've developed over the years? Again, not too consciously. I was just kind of doing what felt natural and made sense, And I realized, well, I coach men. That's what I do. I help them get the shit together and figure out, one, what's been in the way, two, what they want, and then develop that. Actually become the man they want to become. And so that's kind of what transitioned me into, doing the work that I'm doing now. Obviously, it's evolved and so on since then, but that was kind of the transition, I suppose. Hopefully that sums it up.
yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah, that was really well done. That was like a quick one-man show of like really nailing the key points of like how you ended up. And I love actually that you just followed what was essentially obvious and true in front of you, and not necessarily having to know why, but then eventually ending up with something that you really love as your lifestyle and what you do. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, my nature is to be very curious and just kind of chase answers. So, that was something that was happening on some level. It wasn't super conscious. I wasn't set out going, I want to do this, and it was just, I was following, a thread.
No, and I like what you said about how the body is a vehicle, because I think it's something that I learned. Like I spent probably a good proportion of my 20s, as Ahmed would know, just like being, I wouldn't say obsessed with the gym, but I was just like, I want a gym. I love going to gym 4 times a week, playing football twice a week. Like, being physically fit and being in good shape was really important to me. But what I also was a byproduct of that is I learned like discipline, like the importance of discipline, the little actions. Like I always talk about diet, and it's like, when you, as as a personal trainer, and you tell people really your diet is the key to you reaching the body you want. But it's not just the diet, it's the discipline to do it every single day, to say no to the chocolate, no to the sweets. And then, a year, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you're at that place where you really wanted to get to, and you're like, oh wow, I did this. And it's like, it looks like it's just a bodily thing, but the mental courage and effort that goes into it is like far greater than the physical effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many analogies, I think, that span across all elements of our lives. But for me, the physical is a really simple one to span across so many things for guys. And, where I find most guys making a lot of mistakes, regardless of where it is in their lives, is that we're stuck on the surface of things. We're looking for the really simple answers without having to dig into things that are perhaps more challenging in any number of ways, even though we might pat ourselves on the back that we are doing hard things. And one of the ways that it plays out for me in a really simple example is the physical. Chasing the strategy is never going to cut it, because everyone knows that they need to exercise and they need to eat well, and they have the basics down for what that is, right? Like eat vegetables, limit the amount of crap you eat. Look, simple stuff. So why don't they do it?
Because
Most people don't do it.
It's hard. Yeah, because it's not easy.
Exactly. And so just finding the strategy stuff, i.e. just, doing the program that your trainer gave you or whatever it is, well, that's not enough. So we have to explore that question of, why don't I do it? And in that, well, obviously that's not anything to do with the actual food and the actual exercise and again, whatever it is, whatever situation or whatever context. It's about exploring, understanding your behaviors, why you don't do certain things. And so that is all, essentially the mental and emotional game. And it's self-awareness in a nutshell. And of course, then speaking broadly to like human behavior as well. But we have to explore that deeper side of things. Otherwise, the surface things tend to not really stick. And we get perhaps stuck in a place of thinking, I just need to be more disciplined. How do I get more motivated? And again, we look for those simple things that, generally speaking, if they don't have a foundation, they're just kind of fleeting and often lacking. And I think that's where a lot of guys will just get stuck in that process. Well, I'll chase the next thing, or I'll follow that next dude on Instagram, or I get the 10 best morning routines of, jack dudes or billionaires or whatever it is. And it's like, if you don't have a foundation, dude, those things aren't going to stick.
I actually, I got inspired by something you just said there. And what occurred to me is like, and I definitely see this with a lot of guys who are perhaps just starting out with their sort of self-awareness and just having that because so many guys, they'll come and there is that sort of cliche thing. It's still very pervasive in society that is, I need to have the right job or the right body or the right house in order to achieve something. And so what I wrote down is like what they're looking for is they don't want truth, they want tricks and techniques. That's what they want. They just want that. They want that. Just give me the next piece. Like, just that's all. I don't want to hear about having to do some deeper work or having to dig. Because digging is actually an interesting phrase for it, because it's a bit like the phrase inspires gardening, and gardening is actually hard. Like it's actually tough work when you have to like go and someone like says, oh, I've just like lifted the flower bed or something, and it's like, oh, that seems like a rather straightforward exercise, but actually there's like stones and stuff in there, and you've got to it takes hours, right?
And there's a living thing that you're trying to help live as well, right? Which hello, that's what you are too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I thought that was really really interesting, because there are for sure many for many of us still, we get so attached to the surface level and going, I want that because we believe that particular thing, whether it's the body or the money or the job or whatever, it will get us the result that we want, and then we end up just going around in circles on it.
Yeah, and look, and it might, let's not say those, the techniques and the tricks are important, but if none of them are working, then it's not the next one, it's you. And that's not a judgment. It's, you just got to understand why you're not doing the things. And so hopefully it's an invitation to curiosity at the very least.
Yeah, we see it with men that we work with and so forth. Is like they often turn up and they're like, okay, like, I just have this problem. I can't get the women to stick, like, but I just need to know more. I need to know more. Like, there must be some more things you can tell me that I need to do. And you're like, no. So what's happening in these instances? And you get this long story of, oh, the woman is doing this. They keep doing these things. And you just say, do you see how you're creating all of this? And they're like, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just like, they're doing these things. You're like, no one does anything to you, right? People do stuff, but it's like, what are you putting out to this for the story that you've run against this person? And it's like, like in our topic today around, struggling to meet the right type of woman. A lot of men are like, oh, there's no good women around. Like, I'm in a few like WhatsApp groups with groups of men, and I hear them say like, oh, it's standardly, I see them talking about there's no hot women around. There's no like independent women around, or women are too old, or this and that. And I listen, and I find it really interesting. And from time to time I step in and say, this is not my recent experience of the world, and I try and delve into more about, how are you thinking about, the women that are out there and so forth. And there's always some kind of rebuttal with some sort of joke or something like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're still in that cycle of not really wanting to go deep into really looking at the issue that you've got there around meeting kind of the right women, or whatever the right woman is. I was doing the speech quote thingies. Because it's like, what is the right type of woman? You hear men say this phrase a lot, the right woman. And it's like, what, and I know it's, yeah, but what is the right woman, actually? I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, well, I think, one of the important points that's coming out of that is it's easier to blame things outside of me than to really look within me. And so it's easy to say, there's no woman out here, there's no men, because you can put any word in there, right? It's easy to say that stuff. And then it absolves me of any responsibility. And so the answer to, for me, the question, what is the right woman? Where is the right woman? How do I find the right woman? Is, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Stop focusing out there, first of all, and be the right dude. That's what everything is predicated on. Everything in your life, regardless of its relationships, career, how you feel when you wake up, when you go to bed, when you look in the mirror, that's what it comes down to. Who are you being? And so it's easy to go out and say, we're a hot woman, da da da, course, it doesn't mean that we completely ignore that, and also it doesn't mean that you need to be perfect before you go and find relationships and venture into the
Yeah.
world. Of course not. But the focus is you. Who do you want to be, and who are you being? Because then you will potentially find someone for you. Now, I say those words instead of the right woman because, of course, that implies that there's only one person in the world who's a fit for you, which I think is a horrific belief to take on board because that's so scarce. Holy shit, there's billions of people on the planet. So there are plenty of right people for you. But the common thing for all of those is you. So it's always going to come back to who are you, who do you want to be, who are you being? Anything in life, but certainly when it comes to finding partners.
I just to dig a little bit deeper into that because I know, I just know from experience of talking to a lot of guys is they'll hear that and they'll be like, okay, yeah, all right, I've heard this. I've got to be responsible, and yeah, but I keep getting the same experiences, so it must be the woman. I must be statistically meeting my share of the women that are unhealthy or uninterested or just not the right fit, and so why is it men struggle with taking responsibility in this way, like especially around relationships?
Oh yeah. Well, I think there could be many answers to it, right? It's certainly something that it's like the most common answer I give in my coaching program. It depends. I think it depends on lots of things, but probably at a simple level because it's hard. It's easy for me to place blame or focus out there because then there's a bunch of things that I get to lean on as justifications or excuses or things that are outside of my control. And of course, that's never going to take you anywhere fulfilling or worthwhile. And it's completely disempowering for yourself. And so the flip side of the challenge and perhaps, daunting nature or confrontation that is owning your shit is that, oh shit, maybe I have to look at some things that how I've shown up. And, again, if there's 5 women and they all seem the same things keep happening, what's the common link, bro? It's you. So that doesn't mean it's all you, but maybe have a look in the mirror. So there's potentially a lot of, like, oh man, that's confronting. But of course, the flip side of that coin is, oh, well, I get to do something with this. And again, there could be many, many different elements in there depending on the individual. But here's something that is fundamentally true. We all have shit. And so regardless of what it is in your life, relationships or other, we've all got shit, bro. And if you're going to stand there and say, no, but it's these things and I keep meeting these women or, everyone data, what it is, not independent, whatever the tag is, it doesn't matter because every dude's probably got the opposite to the dude next to it and everything in between. There's always going to be the need to look at how am I showing up? What can I improve on? And how can I be my best? So not only can I show up as my best, but also I can then meet the people that are aligned with me. Because we all have shit. Just pretending that it's everything out there or it's all the people that I meet is only kidding yourself that there isn't things to work on. But of course, that comes back to the question, why is it hard to accept responsibility, to own our shit, right? Because it means that I have to admit that I'm not perfect, that perhaps some of the deeper beliefs I have about myself are true, which of course, if you have beliefs around I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be loved, all these kind of things, just admitting you have shit to work on doesn't make those things true. I want to be clear on that. They're certainly not true. But you may have work to do because guess what? You probably do. We all have work to do. And so, it comes down to, I think, the potentially confronting nature, but also accepting reality and being honest with ourselves, right? And so it's almost the same question. Well, honest with themselves, right? Because that is potentially the challenge. And I think as men, we've become very skilled at justifications, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
that cozy little lies that we tell ourselves to make things, justified. Well, I don't have to do that thing, or well, I was that person and it wasn't anything to do with me, or whatever it is. Well, I don't have to go to the gym today. Like whatever the things are, but great at little justifications and making it sound legit. And that can be anything, but certainly when it comes to dating, it's so easy to just absolve ourselves of responsibility. And there's so many ways that this plays out on Next Level. I hear things like, she's just, and insert generic tag that we will attach to women, or he's just a narcissist, or whatever. It's so easy to throw those terms out that just immediately absolves me of responsibility. And whilst it might feel nice in the moment, guess what? I bet you it's leading you to a place that's really fucking frustrating long term.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, do you want to keep playing out that long-term frustration, or do you want to do some short-term work on yourself so you can create a different longer-term outcome?
Yeah. What really jumped out to me from what you just said there as a sort of blocker for a lot of guys is actually the confrontation and accepting that there may be something that's broken, that's wrong. Like it's just like if I open that up and reveals that I actually am weak, like quote unquote weak, then what would that mean? And so then it's better to then just continue to just say, oh no, I mean I could have, but this occurred or that occurred, or that really struck a chord, because I even for my own journey, my own self, like I definitely went through that sort of thing, like and letting stuff go and being, oh fuck, okay. And then there's the compassion for everyone else and their shit. Like it's just like realizing that, yeah, of course everyone has their shit. Like it must be, that must be the way. Like there is no other way.
Yeah, but also compassion for yourself, right? And that's one of the key points there, because as you just said, like that's not a throwaway statement. That if I say or admit to something that means I'm weak, that is fundamental fear and belief that is playing out for so many guys. And it's not that you're weak, but the fact that you fear that you may be weak, or you believe that if you look at something, accept that maybe you've got some shit to work on, that you are weak. That's a fucking problem, bro, because it's there anyway. Just avoiding yourself looking at it doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means you've become really good at sweeping under the rug and ignoring it. And the more you sweep shit under the rug, the higher it gets. You're going to trip on that shit sooner or later. So that's a really important thing to explore. What are you placing on the fact that you might have shit or you might not be perfect? Because in there, guess what? There's some pretty powerful answers that need exploring. And again, that's where the confrontation is. Oh, fuck, right? But one, you have to do it. We all have shit. Two, if you don't do it, same shit's going to keep happening. Three, you get to be supported in that stuff. Like, you don't have to do it all alone. And four, I bet you, most of the dudes that you know are experiencing the same shit in some form or shape or whatever, right? I mean, look, you two have come together. I don't even know the full backstories, but you have a podcast, you have men that follow you. Like, none of us are immune to shit. And the sooner we can go, all right, cool, you know what, let's just make this a bit of a challenge and a game on myself, and I'm going to work on myself. Because you're doing it anyway. I mean, going to the gym is working on yourself. It's just doing it in an easier format, right? So it's all there. And so I think, whatever you're placing on it, as you said, I mean, with, if that means a week or something, that's the thing to explore, because right there is a window into the thing that's preventing the things you want.
It's like we recorded a podcast with Connor Beaton recently, and he was saying like there's this kind of unwritten contract as men that we enter into, unconscious contract we enter into as men, is like we don't talk about what it's like to be a man, like the struggles, the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the worry. And then we all have these friendships where we're all like, hey, buddy, how are you? I'm good, man. How are you? I'm great. What did you get on the weekend? I got drunk. Oh, what else happened? I fucked this girl. Oh, awesome, bro. But there's none of this. What you don't realize underneath that is that this guy might be drinking because he hates his job, or he's really unhappy with the way his life's turned out. He's sleeping with women that he doesn't feel anything for, and it leaves him feeling numb and unfulfilled. But we don't just come forward and say, this is what's really going on as men with each other, and then decide to say what's really going on there. Like, I know for myself, I remember there was points in my life where I was, sleeping with a lot of women, but it was very unfulfilling, and it just was like left me feeling kind of like empty. And yeah, it was cool if you tell your mates like the next day, like, oh, there was this girl and everyone thinks it's fucking awesome. But part of you was like, yeah, but I didn't feel anything. There was nothing really there. Because, it just leaves us kind of hiding who we are constantly. And in that, it's like that becomes a heavy burden to carry around all the time.
Yeah, of course. The more you pretend to be who you think you're supposed to be, the more you distance from who you truly are. Not only with the world and how the world experiences you, but yourself. You start to lose track of, like, who am I really? And of course, it's heavy, right? The more I'm needing to be who I've built in my mind, who I think I'm supposed to be, who other people want me to be, maybe then they'll like me. Like, even just saying that is hard work and confusing, right? And so, of course, it becomes very daunting. Now, you take everyone doing that together, and you have all of these surface level interactions where we're struggling to really connect. Now, I think it's such a powerful statement, and I love Connor's work as well, that you say there, David, just in men communicating and connecting with all of our brothers and our mates. But of course, you then take that to a dating situation. Well, where are you? Who's showing up, right? Like, is it Mike 2.0 that I've created, or is it Mike? And so the other thing I think that can be really powerful there is, I believe immensely in the power and importance of men like truly connecting with each other, but more specifically supporting, challenging, and holding each other accountable. Because that can happen in many ways, but one of the things that prevents it is that we're terrified of being judged, or, like as you said, being seen as weak, or whatever it may be. And so that safety is so important. But once it's there, it's fucking easy. It's amazing because you all know the dudes that or the people in your life to start with that you can be completely honest in yourself with. It's easy.
Yeah.
Right? And if there's people that can support you without judgment and can challenge you and can hold you to who you are truly or who you can be, then of course that does something. It inspires us into action, or at least invites us to be true selves. But as you rightly pointed out from Connor, we have this kind of weird unspoken rule where we just don't. It's just like, right, good, yeah. And I think, first of all, admitting, okay, that I've got shit, if I come back to that point, it can be a challenge. Because all of a sudden, if I feel like no one else does and I'm the only person, right, that just becomes this big mountain that I have to climb myself, and I have to have all the answers to that. It's like, no, fuck, bro, of course you don't have to. But if no one else is showing up, then that's going to reinforce and build that feeling. And of course it's not true, because everyone's in that boat. But the thing with men is we have this thing for loyalty. Loyalty, I find, is a very common high value for a lot of men. And I think, without going into it too deep, I think it has a very strong evolutionary basis to it. But what I think now, as a society, we've kind of conditioned a misconstrued definition of it. And what it often looks like is basically loyalty to people that I've known for a long time, or organizations perhaps that I've worked for a long time. So loyalty becomes proximity in length, the duration of time. And often what that loyalty looks like is asking us to abandon ourselves. And that's not fucking loyalty, bro. That's called being disloyal to yourself. However, so that warrants investigation, but it is something that we really have. A lot of men have a really strong element of loyalty, and it plays out in many different ways. But when it comes to your mates, here's a simple way that this plays out. If, I'm speaking to you guys, but any two guys, if you sat there, I said to you, if David came to you one day and said, you know what, bro, I've just been struggling a bit. I'd like to talk to you about some stuff. I'm just trying to get me here, and could you just support me and just kind of bounce some stuff back to me? What would you say?
I'd be like, yeah, sure. What do you want to say? Like, what do you want to share?
Absolutely. Because he's your bro, and you're loyal to him, and you want to help him.
Yeah.
Like, everyone would do that. Yeah. And the people that wouldn't, cool, great to know, probably don't really connect with that guy too much because he's not willing or able to go there. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you are willing to help your mates very
Yeah, for
simply,
sure. Yeah.
and listen to him, be there to support him. Bro, everyone is in that boat. Everyone is
Mm,
waiting and willing to help, but no one is willing to show up first and be real and
mm,
say what's really going on and answer the question, how you going, genuinely.
yeah.
And so if we can start to understand that we've all got shit, we're all willing and ready to help our mates, we're all willing and ready to create safety for us to just be real with each other. It just takes someone to start.
Mm,
It becomes, I think, an easier step to take.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah. As
that
soon as you
go on.
go on.
Okay. Well, that I was going to say what really resonates for me there, and it just crossed my mind, is like something David and I have noticed since we started this podcast and through our social media interactions, is that men obviously come and they engage with our content and they will look. They won't necessarily like, they won't necessarily comment, they won't necessarily ask the questions, but they definitely engage and they definitely like what we do. And they'll, if they get a chance, they'll send us a DM and a little message and just ask us some rather vague questions about about things here and there. But it really speaks into, for me, it really speaks into that point of not wanting to again express or divulge too soon. And also again, in my own experience, I think David was definitely someone in my life who was possibly one of the first to just express himself emotionally and just say things how they were, to just be like, oh, I feel sad. And I'll be like, huh, why do you feel sad? And he's like, I just do. I'm like, oh, okay, just all right. But that wasn't how I was. Not that I was raised specifically, but it's not how I felt free to just go, oh yeah, that I
Yeah, of
cried or
course.
something like that.
So much
Yeah,
shame hiding just beneath the surface of being who I am, because then I could be judged for it, right? Or I'm not
yeah,
supposed to feel sad and so on. Yeah,
yeah, totally. So that really struck a chord. Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, it was interesting. We did a hashtag challenge a little while
Mm.
ago. Kind of, it turned into it was called 30 Days of Men Feeling, and the
Oh
whole
yeah.
idea was that every day we man,
No,
we'd post how we were.
I'm just thinking of the time it happened. That's why. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah. So it kind of happened. We had the first few days, and we were just posting. We invited men that knew us, that followed us, and the wider people to just involve themselves and just post a message, a story, a post, or a video about how they're feeling that day. And this all happened basically just before the UK went into lockdown. I
Mm,
then got corona and got sick,
mm,
and then come out the back of that. And what was really interesting around that was like, as the time went on, more and more men joined in, but men would message like
mm,
me on my own Instagram and be like, wow, like, how can you say these things? How can you be so open and honest about how you're feeling every day? Like, and I'd say, you're not the first person that said that to me. Like, people, it's helping people just hearing that I don't always feel great. Like, I'm not
mm,
always perfect. Like, some days I'm struggling and I don't even know why I'm struggling, but I'm okay with just saying that that's what's going on for me. And it's kind of this idea that, it's like any sort of sign of vulnerability is weakness. Like, it's even the word.
mm,
I even don't like the way that we use the word vulnerability to mean kind of expressing the so-called negative elements of ourselves, because vulnerability in the stricter sense is like, it is a weakness. I always
mm,
think of, like, I work in tech, so it's always like cyber vulnerabilities is like a weakness in your cyber security that can cause the end of your company. But like, emotional vulnerability is actually a really beautiful thing to connect
mm,
yourself with your friends, in relationships. It's like, without that emotional vulnerability, you're just, like you said, you're just skirting around on the surface.
Mm. Yeah, but I think there's a beautiful, all of that, inviting men to show up, to feel, to
Mm,
express. How did it start? By you guys leading, going first, right? Men go
mm,
mm,
well when we have permission, and we often take permission from someone showing us the way. Really fucking
mm,
important. And that's why I believe, it's so powerful to have men like you and men like us, even if it's doing the simplest of stuff, like sharing
mm,
how we're doing on Instagram every day, right? Then we get to learn boundaries, like, okay, how much is enough and all that kind of stuff. But for
mm,
most guys, that's not really a risk just yet. And then the word vulnerability, because it's I think a really powerful point. Speaking back to what I said about loyalty. We have to explore how we define and the meaning we give to a lot of words, because that one is very powerful. It's all generally meant weakness, and I think, as you said, David, technically that's kind of what it does mean, right? So I invite me to try some different words, because I personally have moved to a place where I can see vulnerability as courage. Because of course, if you choose to show up, David, and say to Ahmed, I feel sad, i.e. be a bit vulnerable, then what you've done is, based on the situation we currently have, you've been vulnerable. Well, you've kind of been courageous, right? But in the big scheme of things, like, it's not that courageous to say you feel sad. It's just being honest. So I think words that guys can try on are open and honest.
Yeah.
And they feel like easier words to take on. Now, again, we spoke about honesty at some level earlier, right? Still, there's potentially a level of like, fuck, that's a bit confronting to do. But it can be, if the word vulnerability is too attached to weakness, then just park it for a while and just try on something else. And that's where, you were honest and you invited men to be honest. And then what they saw was, holy shit, how can you do that? Now, again, if you've got to the point of like, this is what I do, it's not such a big deal, but I think it's really powerful for us to realize that for a lot of men, it still can be a challenge. And so that's where there is so much power in that leading, showing, giving an example, therefore kind of providing permission. Because like, if I choose to show up authentically and be myself, I give permission for those men watching me, for those people watching me, to do the same thing. I show them that it's not that hard. And so all of a sudden I can potentially feel safer. The other side of that is, I'm potentially fearing how I'll be judged, right? And I mean, you kind of said before, right? And so the thing about that is, and this is what's potentially challenged for a lot of guys when it goes into their dating world, fear of rejection, essentially being judged. And it's not necessarily the rejection, it's what I'm making being rejected mean about myself. Maybe that I'm not good enough, or whatever, right? So it's that depth of beliefs that we have in ourselves that we have to explore. But ultimately, the judgment piece is still an opportunity to look in the mirror and go, what is it that I fear I will be judged as or for? And then ask the question, okay, so how am I judging myself for that exact thing? Because basically, fellas, that's what's happening, right? If I fear that people will think I'm weak, I'm judging myself as weak for something. And that's my relationship with myself to explore. Because at the end of the day, you two, just because we're talking right now, but anyone, if you guys were to judge me, get off this call and go, fuck, Mike, something or other, a bunch of judgments there. I don't have to take that on. It's actually nothing to do with me. It's potentially some great feedback for me. I can take it on as information and then kind of give it its weight and look at it. Maybe have a conversation with you guys, but I don't have to make it mean something about who I am and how I feel about myself. And so that's the big cock block for so many guys, is that we're just placing so much on how other people are going to view us. And it makes us terrified to show up in the world and do something as simple as say to my good mate, I feel sad.
Yeah.
Let alone go out and try and meet the right woman,
Yeah. And then be willing to kind of say to her how you're really feeling or what's really going on for you. It's like, you see this, you mentioned it earlier as well, Mike, where it's like trying to be perfect, I think we got an episode we did a while back, was like, do you need to be perfect to be successful in dating? And we talk about the fact that, a lot of men are trying to be flawless, It's like, oh, let me get the house, get the car, get the job, have to find holidays. And then when I'm in that beautiful, perfect position, then I can have the woman that I really want. And I see, like, with guys that I speak to, especially, it seems to be men that kind of get into their kind of, I say, kind of mid-30s to early 40s, when they've actually got all those trophies, and they're the ones that often go, oh, I'm struggling to meet the compatible woman. And they're looking at it from almost like a tick point of view. It's like, oh, well, I've got money, I've got a car. That means now equals I deserve this quote unquote really hot woman who needs to bring all these things into my life. But they're not actually realizing that when it comes to character and values, they don't really have the character to meet the woman that they think they really want. And I say think they really want because I think there's a lot that goes into society to tell us what sort of woman we should be with, and how that woman should appear. You know, it's like, you know, she should be quote unquote this tall, this high. She should be this tall. She should look like this, and it's very much an exercise in a validation, an external validation of like, oh, let me show the world that I'm the man because I've got this great woman with me. Not necessarily that I've met this great woman because I really love her and love being with her.
Yeah, and I focused on being the man. Right, so you know, great summary, because it's so true, right? We go through life collecting things and achievements, hoping that will make us successful. You know, we've learned as men that by and large our success comes down to our ability to provide, protect, and procreate. And that looks like lots of things, right? Evolutionary speaking, it has huge roots, but how it looks now is chasing the job, the status, and the money, and the body, and the strength, and the, you know, sexual prowess, and the appearance of our partner, and the height, right, as you said, and all the things. But that's all externally based. And so fundamentally, all those things are band-aids. And, you know, if you've got a gangrenous leg, it doesn't matter how many fucking band-aids you pile on top of it, shit ain't going to work. And so I think the key thing there is that you are not the things you've collected and the achievements that you have achieved. You are who you are. That's what is at the base of everything. And so all of those things, stacking them on top of each other, just shows that there is conditions you have in place. When I get to such, when I achieve such and such, when I do such and such, then I can be, or then I can get. And that is, you know, like chasing your tail. You're just never really going to get there. And this is where I find there's just a block, I think, for a lot of guys. You know, you can go into a lot more deeper, but the masculine mode is very much action and doing. And so fundamentally, that's where it comes down to, you know, doing the things and achieving the results and stacking up the things and the achievements and so on. But if you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, if you want to be appealing, there's one common word to those, and it was be. If I want to be happy, it's not a bunch of things I need to do to be happy. It's a being. And so for a lot of guys, there's the need to just sit and be, and then be with myself. And all of a sudden, I actually not only will get some really fucking, hopefully, important lessons, but I'll get some ideas as to what I then need to do. And so stacking up the achievements, stacking up the things and the qualifications, whatever qualifications they take on, is not going to get us to that point. And of course, it's fruitless, right? Because then we can potentially get to a point, as you said, David, where I'm at a point and I'm like, but I've done all these things, or now I have all the things I deserve. Oh, holy fucking shit! Check yourself on that one. Or this is how I was led to believe it should be, and of course, that's like so common, and you know, you can also empathize. So confusing and frustrating. But why can I not find a great partner when I've done all these things and I've been working my ass off to achieve? And you know, and of course, that's just like it can feel like you're at the bottom of a well. Like, how have I gotten to this place? Yeah, and that's so challenging for a lot of guys. But of course, it's so common. And you know, hopefully, the summary of that is, it's not the things that you do or accomplish; it's who you are.
I think, yeah, that's again, from the conversations that we've been having recently with a lot of guys, it's definitely a theme that keeps cropping up. And I mean, personally, I was quite surprised given how much information that we put out, and like for ourselves and anyone who knows us, it is very challenging for guys to recognize this. And it's almost like we as a society, as a human race, like we focus so much on the doing that we stop being human beings. and even like that's been a huge part of my journey too. So I'm really seeing the signposts on my journey of and yeah, and I continue to do that, but really seeing like how much I've had to go through to get to the point of just being and enjoying being, because actually that is life, right? Like in the present moment, right here, right now, what I'm doing, what I'm being. I mean, I'm being on this podcast, being a podcaster, just doing that. It brings joy to my life, right? And it's not because it ends up with me being famous or whatever. It's actually just because actually this is something I enjoy doing. I enjoy talking. I enjoy having these intellectual conversations, and with without contriving it, that gives me joy. That brings my vibe. That makes me attractive because I'm just happy because I'm just doing why are you happy? I don't know, just doing stuff, just doing what I enjoy,
Absolutely.
But it is I think it's a task to crack through the expectation, I think, of what it is of like being a man in the world, having the job, being impressive, having to feel like you have to be impressive in order to get what you want, and losing touch with just the humanness of what we're here doing as humans on this planet. So
Yeah, and I think if you think about that analogy that you said of like kind of chiseling away the things, and you think about, well, actually what I'm potentially doing, and collecting the achievements and the accolades and whatever, is pieces of armor that I'm putting on, and I'm collecting, and here I am here I am at night, and it's like, I don't know who you are beneath all that stuff, because you are not those things, and so here all you have to actually do is chisel those fucking things away and see who the man is beneath it. And so I think one of the things you said there, Ahmed, is very powerful to look at. What's attractive is being comfortable in your skin.
Yeah.
And that can be anything, but of course, it's being happy right now with who you are, right? There doesn't have to be any other reason, like, well, today I achieved X in my job or something, right? Doesn't mean you don't get to celebrate the things you do. Doesn't mean you don't get to love the job and the house and those things, of course. But if it's based on how you'll be seen, that's going to be fruitless. It's like pouring flour into a sieve. It's just going to fall away out and need to go again and again. And so the risk, I think, for a lot of guys is that we're very black and white thinking. We tend to be quite all or nothing. And so, with a lot of guys, I can already hear the potential response to something like, doing and being as, so what, I just got to sit around all day and just be a hippie, right? So, cool, maybe for you, fuck, dude, holy shit, if you've worked yourself into the ground for 20 years, you probably do just sit the fuck down for a little while. But that would be the other end of the spectrum. And it's not, the answer is not the complete other end of the spectrum. The answer is to slow down a bit and not constantly be in the mode of doing and achieving, and the hope that you will then be a success, but allow yourself to be momentarily, enjoy the fruits of your labor, smell the roses, those simple things. But you don't have to, go on welfare and do nothing for the rest of your life. That's not the answer either.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting is that, like, as I feel like I remember growing up and getting into my 20s, and I realized that I was like, trying to make money because I saw that if I had this money, I'd have security and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't really thinking to myself, like, what do I value? What do I enjoy? How do I love spending my time? And there was a point where I started to really think. I was like, how do I want to spend my time? Do I want to spend my time in this job, or do I want to, do what I really love doing? And I started to see the more that I spent doing the things I really loved and that were valuable to me, just in themselves, not for getting anything out of them necessarily, or to look a certain way to the rest of the world, the more that the very much the women that I wanted to be speaking to and spending my time to were just naturally coming my way, because I was just I put it down to two things. I think there was this, when I used to speak about, and I say used to, and I still do, when I speak with joy about what I'm doing, it's a very infectious thing. Like, people hear that passion and it comes through. But the second thing was, I was finding myself, I was surrounded by people who shared my sort of values in life. And it was like, oh, this is what it's like to just be around like-minded people. And it doesn't become this kind of struggle of like, oh my God, when am I going to meet a woman that I like? Because I was constantly meeting people that I liked in general, who would connect me with other people. And it was just like this, it just became this flow of just like meeting people who were great, coming across people who were awesome to spend time with. And with that, I felt that the women just became kind of secondary thing, but just kind of came and flowed through as well.
Yeah. Again, like, isn't there something appealing about a dude who's comfortable in his skin, is doing things based on what feels right for him? That doesn't mean you're not a considerate person to people around you. But you're not trying to fit in. You're not trying to be liked. You're not trying to be who you think other people think you want you to be. Like, that's a confusing sentence, but that's what we're trying to do, right? And so when you let go, which is the being, all of a sudden, different people, potentially different people, come around us, but certainly different interactions, right? More genuine interactions, because you'll reflect what you put out into the world. And so if you're showing up like that, then all of a sudden it's easier. That doesn't mean we don't have come across people that aren't fit, and people might not like us and all that kind of stuff. It's fundamentally going to be true, but we have to learn to be okay with that. Because if we keep holding on to the belief or the hope that everyone's going to like me, then you're not going to like yourself.
Yeah, I've been having a realization recently of the power of individuality, of like really just being your individual self, and showing up in the world, and not shying away for any particular reason or to fit in for any reason, but really just being that shining example of your own personal like vibration or vibe. So for some people, it's very easy to see because they dress in an audacious way, or I say audacious, but maybe for me it's audacious. For them, it's just how they dress, it's how they express themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And for other people, is they're quirky or whatever. And it's actually it's such a beauty actually in life to come across someone who's genuine, original, and just complete at home inside of that, right? Just complete, like, yeah, this is me. I'm not trying to better this. I'm not trying to change this in any particular way. Like, I'm just like living and being, and really riding that that comfortably. I'm just thinking about the word I just said there, better themselves. Not that they necessarily wouldn't better themselves, but rather like that they're just very comfortable in what they're putting out and being that way. Yeah.
Yeah, we're allowed to accept ourselves and be in the process of continual improvement, because that's the human experience is change. So if we try and stop, then life will move past us. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we could go on and on and on with this. It's like it's in a good way, because I think I feel like this conversation is actually a really important conversation for a lot of men to hear. Even in 2020, and so much has moved, and in terms of the world and where we're at and independence and stuff. So I think there's a call for a deeper conversation or something else. But this has been really 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 hot stuff so far. Yeah. Dave, do you have anything you want to say?
No, I was just thinking if there was like one more question, like speaking into this topic of the meeting the right type, because I know we've really like weaved in and out of the topic, but I'm just trying to think if there's like one thing that kind of really kind of jumps out to me. I guess it's around the pattern. Actually, that's the thing. It's like how to get out of the pattern, like some real tangible advice, like how to get out of the pattern of kind of selling yourself short, and also not truly putting yourself out there for you to really be vulnerable to meeting the kind of quote unquote right sort of woman.
That's a good one.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, like, listen back to everything that we've just discussed, because you guys certainly said some amazing things as well. David talking about before, like choosing to just think about what do I value and where do I want to spend my time and my energy, essentially, and my money, on what I value. Figure out what you value, and if in that process you uncover that perhaps you haven't valued yourself so much, then there's an opportunity to explore that, because it's going to be hard to really have someone value you if you don't value yourself. So in that journey of exploration of your values, not only can we really start to hopefully understand ourselves and choose to value ourselves, but we can really also figure out, what do I value? And that is going to be one of the most powerful things when it comes to finding a partner for you. is someone who shares similar values, not necessarily the traits or the things in common, but like who you are as people. And hopefully in that process, then there's an opportunity at the very least to explore accepting who you are. Because the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment, the fear of perhaps people not liking me or being alone or whatever those things are going to come down to something like that. And so that to me is a practice. Self-acceptance is a practice. You know what? I often talk really harshly to myself about that one thing or judge myself on that one thing. Today I'm going to practice being okay with it. Right, so again, this is work that you can do for yourself, which will then reflect, how you show up externally, because of how I go out to find the person is completely dictated on all of that shit getting in the way. Then it's always going to get in the way. So the next step of that for me is a practice of rejection. Allow yourself to be rejected and put on the hat of the dude who's the curious explorer, who's looking for information. Not the dude who judges himself and gets into the spin of it, or potentially projects it outward. Because if you can learn that rejection, and even perhaps, like we spoke earlier about vulnerability, changing the word, because rejection might have too much on it for you at the moment. But a no, or a no thank you, doesn't have to mean anything about who you are, but perhaps an opportunity to learn. Could I have shown up differently then? Or an opportunity to turn left and have a conversation with someone else. It doesn't have to mean that I need to go and achieve some more things or get a different job or be more ripped or something in order to get the right person. There's opportunities everywhere. So those are actually practices, I think, where you can just do those things. Practice self-acceptance, practice rejection, practice living your values and valuing yourself. And hopefully that's coming in that is, that isn't just one pill that you'll take today and then tomorrow she'll be good. It's a practice, right? It's ongoing. But of course, if you're someone who's struggled for a long time, perhaps, to find a partner and find a relationship that is fulfilling, it's not going to take that long. It's not going to take that long. But of course, there's going to be a lot of other side effects, and both of you, I think, have shared some pretty amazing examples of your own side effects, which aren't just in relationships, right? So hopefully, those are some things that you can do. And I'll add on to that one simple thing, and that would be find someone. It doesn't matter who. And again, I've obviously expressed I think there's power in other men, but find someone who you can truly be yourself with and talk to them about stuff. Like, this is what I'm challenged by, and can you give me some feedback on this? Like, having someone who's in your corner as your supporter and who can keep you honest, it's priceless. Because of course we're so in our own shit all the time we can't see it. And so if there's someone who can lovingly support you but also keep you honest, like, there's so much in that that will support all the rest of it.
Yeah. I really like the last part actually, is having people around you to support you in that new way, almost like that future mindset you're trying to create. It's like, it's so easy to just, if you don't surround yourself with people, at least have one person you can go to and just talk things out and express yourself with and be really open and honest with what's going on for you, whether that be feeling like how you're feeling emotionally, how you're feeling physically, or you're feeling just about your life in general. If you don't have like a kind of sounding board, and like, me and Ahmad talk about this a lot, and we've had like coaches and mentors, and we've had each other. Like, I think in many ways, like, having each other and other men in our lives that we can talk to has been incredible for us. And I know from the guys that we coach, a lot of guys don't have someone just who will say, why are you doing that? Like, is that really good for you? Is that really what you want to do? You know, they just have people in life going, yeah, man, do that. Yeah, you're awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Because, you know, that doesn't help you move more towards where you truly want to be and who you want to be.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things potentially looking back to loyalty before is we become loyal to who we were and who they were, and we keep that relationship going, right? And so, because I know how real that is for so many guys that they don't have someone. But while for some people that is true, there's no one. I believe most of us do have someone. We just haven't chosen to create a relationship to be like that.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity is there for us to create that, not wait for someone to pull it out of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. So, no, that was really good. If people want to find out more about you
Yes.
and where, where can they learn more about you and what you're up to?
Yeah. So look, hit me up on social media, Mike Campbell MC. You can find me on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. Drop in, say hi, ask me a question if you want. Always happy to answer questions and support men out there and figuring this shit out. Quite simply, everything is easily enough directed from one place, so I don't need to give you too many other addresses. That should do it.
Cool. Yeah, and we highly recommend everyone checks out Mike. Your stuff's really cool.
I've been
straight to the point.
I've been personally enjoying your videos. Like I love the aesthetics of them, but I also love like the message and how you really you like you said, there's no bullshit. It's like you get straight to it. I really love that.
Yeah, well, that's the aim, right? Like we can skirt around things, or we can get to the point. And I think the sooner we can get to the point with compassion and consideration, the sooner we can, get to where we want. So thank you. Happy to do them. So yeah, ask me your own questions, and I'm happy to chat and give some support.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Well,
cool.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, cheers, Mike.
Thank you, gentlemen.
No worries.